one is not perfect, but it's pretty damn good. Served us well.
Nice. Alrighty. Well, you're rolling, just carry on.
Cheers. Good evening. I'm here with Chris Parker, BossMan, Supracer, Paddleleague. Any more?
Paddlecast.
Oh,
Paddlecast now.
No, I was going to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
Chris and I are here on the beautiful island of Jersey, and you've just been commentating on what must be quite an epic event for you. You have spoken for how many hours?
I think we ended up at just over 5 hours. We tried to set a world record for the longest live stream. Kind of fits the theme of this whole crazy race. And yeah, we had a few last minute changes to the race, a few mid-race changes to the course, but a really interesting day, fascinating day. And you can see the swimmers are coming in. They've actually been going 10 hours, so that's just absolutely bonkers. The subs had it easy. We only went for about 5 hours.
Yeah, we've got subs, OCs, kayakers, swimmers, runners. Oh, amazing.
Yeah, that is pretty impressive. I like this race. This is it's one of those races that's just a lot more than just a race, you know?
Yeah.
And I kind of like these long races. I think they kind of have a personality. There's these little characters within the race. And Jersey, it's the tides and the wind and the weather.
Yeah.
Which we saw today.
And that's had a bit moody. It's been moody. So the whole round the island challenge was cancelled because of the gnarly weather on the north. We did it in the sheltered south, which was not so sheltered. So you had some interesting rides on the rib, didn't you? It was quite gnarly out there, but. Yeah, Chris was there commentating all day today, and what a great event it's been, hasn't it? Really, really good.
Oh, no, I love it. This is one of my favourites now, and all these ultra races, as we call them, I find them fascinating.
Yeah, and you are, Paddleleague has got its own now, endurance. That's your thing now, isn't it? That's your latest thing.
Yeah, it's kind of become I don't know, it's like a drug. I started doing the 11 cities, and I got really into that. And this year we went with parts of the Yukon River Quest, which is 3 days, 700 kilometres. And it's just, you just get hooked on them. Yeah. It's hard to describe.
Oh, don't tell me that. Having just done my first semi-endurance, I don't want to get hooked.
No, you'll be over there in Canada one day. That one's on the bucket list for sure.
Yeah. And you met up with some old buddies from Buddies Lounge now, Stu and Mike.
Yes.
Soldiers up the Yukon. They did that with you, didn't they?
Yeah.
And Stu's been out here paddling like a crazy man, did his 5 laps.
Yeah, he wasn't giving up today, was he? He was determined.
He definitely wasn't giving up. He gave a very good speech on Friday night, didn't he?
Yep.
Basically kicking us all up the butt and telling us we can do this.
He made me feel guilty complaining about my stub toe. I remember that.
Yeah, all our little aches and pains suddenly disappeared. Yeah. You've got some exciting news as well. You are commentating for the ICF Worlds in China.
Oh yeah, I thought it was about 11 cities, but no.
No. Let's go fast forward.
Right.
It is big news. It's exciting.
That is. Not really sure what to expect because I've never been to China.
Trust me, it's great. We've been. It's exciting.
I'm looking forward to it. It's been on my list, and I've obviously never been to an ICF Championships because there's never been one.
Nope.
This is the first one. So a few unknowns, but from what I've just seen, what I've talked to with the crew, I think they're going to put on a pretty good show. There's obviously a lot of politics going on behind the scenes there, which I'm doing my best to stay out of this year.
Oh,
not always so easy, but no, I want to go and see what it's all about. I mean, it's like the old ISA days. I remember when the ISA started. People don't actually realise, but when the ISA started, they had the same problem. A lot of paddlers saw them as this outsiders. That who are they to come in and say they're running the show? So the first couple of years, the ISAs didn't have a lot of support. I remember I went to Peru and Nicaragua and really tried to promote that, and I was commentating those early days. And then I think they didn't like one of the articles I wrote one year, and I was blacklisted.
That's your problem. This is why we love this man, because he's honest, he speaks from the heart. You're passionate about stuff, aren't you? You've been involved with it for so many years. We've followed you. You've inspired us.
Oh, cool.
But,
thank you.
Not everybody loves your honesty and your directness, so you're going to lose friends.
I think it's just kind of like some of the powers that be. It's like anything in life, there's certain people, and when you're in that position, they don't want anyone to question it, and that's our role.
We're here for. I mean, we are here to question it, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got to keep them honest.
Moving on, another new thing is your paddlecast.
Oh, yeah.
Which we are loving.
Thank you.
Yeah, really loving. So talk us through that. It's a nice little podcasty paddlecast.
Yeah, no, so am I. I'm really enjoying that. I had the idea actually about a year ago. I did a podcast with Chase Kostelitz. He's got a SUP podcast, a good one. And I sat down with him. I was like, this is fantastic. Like, we just talk about so much. It goes so much deeper than just, there's a headline on Facebook or there's an Instagram post where you can do a little caption. But with a podcast, you got hours. You can really get into the story and really uncover some interesting things going on in the sport. And not just within the sport. Like, it basically becomes not an interview, but like a conversation.
Yeah. And
you can really learn about someone. So, yeah, I just sat down with Casper in Denmark and kind of did a trial run a couple of months ago.
Good one to start with.
And actually, the first one was never published because I think he had a 6-pack of beer, I had a bottle of wine.
Oh, please publish it.
That's like the director's cut one day. We watched it back and we're like, this is not a good first episode. Towards the end, we started, saying things, a few things we couldn't publish. So a couple of days later, we sat down again.
Did a proper
did
one.
a sober podcast.
And you've done one with Bart as well.
Yeah, and then we went to Canada, and I thought that's an amazing opportunity to chat with Bart because he's a fascinating character. And then I went back to Australia. I did ones with Paul and Angie Jackson that'll come out this week.
Okay.
I'm actually sitting down with Stu tomorrow, which will be a good one.
Yeah,
he's a character.
Absolutely.
And we're going to have to do one day.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
I need to come with you on a boat and just do some commentary. That is what I would love. Absolutely. If I hadn't been racing the OC today, I'd have been blagging away onto your boat and coming and joining you because you and I both love to natter. We were talking about that just a minute ago.
I think we could do a good combo out there.
Combo. Yeah.
No, I really like what you're doing.
Oh,
I think you're one of the biggest fans on Instagram of SUP in general, and
yeah.
just the vibe you put out there. It's
we're doing our best.
Really positive.
I love the sport. I paddled, I raced, loved it. Fell into this by complete fluke. Maybe a bit like you, I don't know.
Yeah.
And we're just doing it to promote paddleboarding in the UK and around the world and try and bring some international paddlers to the UK.
Yeah.
And moving on from that, Battle of the Thames, our own club race.
Oh, yeah.
Year 10 anniversary.
Next year's
June
year
the
10?
13th. The date has changed. It's going to be a little bit
June
drier.
13th?
June the 13th. We'd love you to come.
Should be in
You
Europe.
should be there.
I promised Casper the Viking Challenge. I think that's the next weekend.
So you can bunny hop from one to the other.
Let's pencil it in now.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually,
Cool.
that'd be cool. We did the Battle of Thames in 2013, I think, with Jamie Mitchell.
Yep.
It was me, Jamie, and Westy was like taking us on this little tour of England.
That was my first racing season.
Yeah.
And I wasn't
Were you
racing,
there?
but I was there taking photos.
Really?
I don't remember seeing you because I didn't know who anybody was. I found out who Jamie Mitchell was and saw him smash the course up.
Well,
but didn't really know who anyone else was.
I think Supracer was not very old then.
Yeah.
Nobody knew who Supracer was
Okay,
back
well,
then.
you've got to come back. You've got to come back. This man has got to come back.
Yeah, let's do it.
What other news? Got any other news that you can give us as an exclusive?
Well, I think the biggest thing happening this week, like after this one, there'll be a lot of stories to come out of this over the next few days.
Great stories.
There's some unprecedented events in the stand-up paddling world. I've never seen a race go into a holding pattern before. It was like, when you're on a plane, you're coming to land and you just do circles.
Yeah.
We're waiting for the
That's
runway.
exactly what we were doing.
That's what we were doing, yeah. Just cruising around little St. Albans. That was nice.
Waiting.
It was a nice spot to stop there. I mean, everywhere on this island is beautiful. I don't know what it's called, but that thing, look at it.
I mean, it's stunning.
It's incredible. So yeah, if you've never been to Jersey, this race is such a good excuse to come to a beautiful little island.
That's part of our reason for coming, not just for the race, but to see Jersey. We've never been here. It is absolutely stunning. You've got to come here, guys.
Yeah.
Your next challenge, you mentioned it earlier, 11 cities.
Yes.
Got a nice swanky board to use.
Yeah, that's what I'm really excited about. I teamed up with the guys from One, who actually taught me to paddle back home in Australia, Paul and Angie Jackson.
Yeah.
And they've just come out with this whole new rocket ship flat water design that got a lot of attention when we posted about it last week. It's pretty funky looking.
Innovative.
Funky. It's definitely innovative. It's definitely unique, and it looks like it goes fast.
Yeah.
So I got no excuses.
No.
So we actually made a custom SUP 11 City model of it. And I've got to fly. I got to fly to Vietnam tomorrow because it wasn't ready in time to get shipped here. So we're just doing a little quick return trip to Vietnam tomorrow to pick it up. But it'll be worth it because that board looks incredible. I just saw the photos from the factory. And then, of course, 11 cities.
Non-stop for you. Now you're into endurance.
Yeah. Thought, might as
Why
well get over and done with. But no, 11 Cities is a race very close to my heart. I started doing it 6 years ago, and I just fell in love with it immediately, fell in love with that part of the world, the people that run it. It's one of those races that remind you why I think we all get into the sport, because no one's there, like everyone there is volunteer, but people just put so much passion into it. And you get paddlers that come back literally every single year, and it becomes a reunion. Like I've got friends I'll see there, just there. And you see on these big Dutch wooden ships, they're like floating hostels. It's like school camp for adults.
Yeah.
That's what we call it. And then they about 5 years ago they started the non-sup version because people were just doing it to set records during the year, and they're like, we might as well make it official.
Yeah.
And every year I've looked at it and thought it would be interesting just to kind of, like ripping off a band-aid, just do all in one. Because the 5 days is really hard. You got to wake up every morning at 6 a.m. when your hands are just blistered and your body's aching, and then go out and paddle for 6 or 7 hours again. So I actually think the non-stop will be easier.
Well, maybe you can tell us that in how long? 2 weeks' time?
In about 8 days, hopefully.
8 days' time, we'll.
It might be 10 days for me. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun one. I'm excited about that.
Well, good luck in that. You'll go and you'll have fun.
Yeah, and then Scotland. We go to Scotland.
Oh, Great Glen.
Yes.
Awesome. We have not done the Great Glen, but that will be stunning as well.
Yeah.
Paddling in the dark. Start at 3 a.m. Good luck with that one.
Yeah, we're gonna need a few shots of that Scotch whiskey, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Before or after or during. Yeah, have that in your camelback.
It looks a little chilly, that one.
Right, I think we're done.
Yep.
We need to wrap it up. Chris, thank you for everything that you do for this sport. You are amazing, and you are very inspirational. You've been inspirational to us as SUPjunkie. We love watching your live feeds because your humour and your whatever, it's just great. Your honesty, it's great, and I think you've done a great thing for the sport. And we love your honesty. Keep being honest. Don't shut your mouth up for anybody.
That won't change.
Thanks for bringing us up on the live feed today. I know you shouted us out a couple of times. We were on the AC, so
it's great to have you
it's
here.
a pleasure to meet you finally.
Yeah, I thought we actually met. We've talked so much on Instagram. I was like,
we're all buddies. We're all buddies. It's nice to meet you, and you're great. Much respect to you. So everybody, Chris Parker, please follow Supracer, Paddleleague, Paddlecast. Yeah, follow this guy. He's very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you. I appreciate what you guys are doing as well.
Yeah, pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks.